1775. Madam Speaker, in regard to Part A of the question, there is no annual
With due respect to the Honourable Prime Minister, please don't make provocations. Yes.
Madam Speaker, in regard to Part A of the question, there is no annual contribution by government to the Fonds de Solidarité Africain. Instead, all payments being made are in respect of the amount due by Mauritius relating to the increase in share capital. Madam Speaker, following the commitment taken at the Board of Governors meeting held in July 2008 for the increase in capital, a revised agreement was signed in December 2008, whereby our share capital, which stood at 92 million rupees, was increased to 264 million rupees. To date, Mauritius owes an amount of 150 million rupees to the FSA. Any non-payment of our obligations may be construed as non-compliance with the commitment taken by member states and may be interpreted by other member states as a lack of solidarity. It is pertinent to note that Senegal and Ivory Coast, where Mauritius is setting up special economic zones, form part of the 14 member states of the FSA. It is in this context that Mauritius has to honor its obligations and has made necessary provisions to settle the outstanding amounts over the next 2 financial years, that is 75 million rupees in 2019-2020 and 75 million rupees in 2020-2021. Madam Speaker, as regards Part B of the question, Mr. Gérard Pascal Bussier, Deputy Financial Secretary, has represented the Government of Mauritius in several meetings up to May 2017. Thereafter, Dr. Dharamraj Paligadu, Director, Economic and Finance at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, has represented government in the Council of Ministers meeting in July 2017. As regards the terms and conditions for serving on the board of the FSA, the criteria required to be eligible for membership on the board of directors of FSA is that the officer should be of a senior official level, preferably director level, in the Ministry of Finance of the member state. Regarding participation in its meetings, Fonds de Solidarité Africain meets the travel, accommodation, and other related costs. Madam Speaker, concerning Part C of the question, Mauritius has benefited from financial assistance amounting to 24 million rupees in terms of interest subsidies on loans taken for the construction of the bulk sugar terminal in Port Louis, as well as the construction of social housing units in favor of 944 beneficiaries. In 2017 and 2018, the FSA signed agreements with 4 local institutions, namely the Development Bank of Mauritius Limited, MoBank Limited, the Mauritius Africa Fund, and the SBM Group Limited, containing several areas of intervention of the Fonds de Solidarité Africain in favor of Mauritius. These include offer for the allocation of risk-sharing guarantee to the Development Bank of Mauritius Limited for an amount of 350 million rupees as advance to small and medium enterprises in Mauritius, creation of a fund equally endowed by MoBank Limited and the FSA with an initial amount of 200 million rupees, which will be used to finance projects in the field of agriculture, animal rearing, fishing and aquaculture, and will provide for equal sharing of project risks. Equity participation of FSA in existing and new financial vehicles for projects to be implemented by the Mauritius Africa Fund in Africa, the use of FSA guarantee to carry out projects in the form of public-private partnership established by MAF in the special economic zones set up by Mauritius in countries like Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. Acquisition of equity interests in existing or new financial vehicles being developed by the SBM.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I know from the Honourable Prime Minister, why is it that the commitment was taken in 2008 and more than 11 years later, Mauritius has still not honoured its commitment to put in the increased share capital?
Well, it is only recently that we have revived this initiative with regard to our engagement with the FSA, and that therefore we have committed to contribute 150 million rupees, and as I say, it is already planned in the budget that we will be doing so in the years to come. But I cannot explain for the years 2008 till 2014. Why is it that nothing has been done?
And may I know from the Honourable Prime Minister, when was the last time our representative, a minister or the gentleman from the Ministry of Finance, sat on the board of the Fonds de Solidarité Africaine?
Minister, I would not know. But when we were represented last time, that was on the 27th of July 2017. And I know we could not do so later on because each time, I'm speaking from memory, each time that there were meetings, I remember we were taken up with budget preparations, at least on two occasions, I do remember. And therefore it was very difficult to send the responsible officer to that meeting because he was taken up and fully involved in budget preparation.
The Prime Minister mentioned that we have in the past received interest subsidy. In 2002, for example, we received 10 million as interest subsidy with respect to loans to beneficiaries of of social housing from the NHDC. So may I know from the Honourable Prime Minister, why is it that Mauritius, we don't avail ourselves of that facility? Why don't we ask for additional interest subsidy on interest, which can then be passed on onto the applicant for housing in NHDC?
Well, I have replied, Madam Speaker, that now we have engaged with the FSA, and I have mentioned I'm not going to repeat what are the agreements that have been, in fact, that have been made, but these now are due to be discussed with the relevant institutions like DBM, MoBank, all those institutions have mentioned, for them to now come up with the terms and conditions that will prevail with regard to those agreements.
Thank you, Speaker. May I know from the Honourable Attorney General, if he has the information, what is the average time taken to deliver a judgment by the Civil Division of the Intermediate Court?
Unfortunately, I don't have this information.
B786.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I will answer this question. As regards to Part A, I'm informed by the Road Development Authority that the design, build, turnkey and completion of the construction of a grade separated junction on motorway M1 at Dishat and other upgrading works was awarded for a lump sum of 320,999,000 to Transinvest Gencon Dishat joint venture. There has been no cost overrun in this project and the final cost thereof has remained the same. As regards to Part B of the question, I'm informed that the following assessments were made before and after implementing the project. The time to travel from Rajwi to Port Louis city centre using motorway M1 was measured during peak time between 8 in the morning to 10, and the time to travel from Bell Village to Port Louis city centre using the A1 was measured during peak time between 8 o'clock and 10. In general, the following observations were made by the RDA. First, before the project, the time to travel from Rajwi to Port Louis city centre varied between 40 to 45 minutes. With the coming into operation of the project, the travel time varies between 20 to 25 minutes. Therefore, there is an average travel time saving of 15 to 20 minutes. Before the project, the time to travel from Bell Village to Port Louis city centre varied between 25 and 30 minutes. After the project, the travel time varies between 10 and 15. Therefore, there is an average travel time savings of 10 minutes. Furthermore, it has been observed that the queue length along motorway M1 entering Port Louis at Place d'Armes has been reduced by 50%. With the construction of the slip lane at Place d'Armes coming from John Kennedy Avenue, traffic exiting Port Louis Centre are also taking less time to join motorway M1. Madam Speaker, I am informed that the traffic flow in Port Louis North, that is on the Royal Street, is still being assessed. It is envisaged to implement other projects to further improve the traffic flows, such as a review of the traffic scheme along Farquhar Street and the implementation of KD flyover project.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is the Honourable Minister aware that not even 1 year after completion of this project, there are cracks on the road? The cracks was tarmacked, and now the cracks appear again. And I will lay down copies of 2 pictures which I've taken yesterday, which shows cracks opening up again on places which are supposed to have been resurfaced.
Madam Speaker, I mentioned these cracks when we had the budget speech and we were doing at committee stage. And I had given the length and I had given also the width of the cracks. First of all, I would like to say that there are no new cracks. Second, that the structural integrity of the bridge is without question. Third, that we have been monitoring this, the cracks all the way for about 2 months. And for the last 6 weeks, there was no movement. And recently, these days, there have been a movement of about 2 centimeters. We are closely monitoring the situation. And we know that we have major structural works on the other side of the road with the metro. So what we are going to do, as soon as the structural works are completed in the week and 10 days to follow, we'll sit down and consider the stability of the whole region.
The Honourable Minister just mentioned that in recent days there have been movement again of 2 centimeters. So may I know from the Honourable Minister who did the survey about the structure after the cracks came down, and whether that engineer's report can be tabled before the National Assembly?
Well, I have some of the documents here. Well, I would prefer to table I have it here, but I would prefer to have the latest one as well tabled for you.
From the Honourable Minister, whether according to that report, the contractor is in any way blamed for the quality of the work carried out on the Deccan Bridge?
Madam Speaker, we are within what we call the defects liability period of 1 year, and we have also retained 50 million. So if there is any repairs to be done, it has to be completely on the responsibility of because he did the design and the build.
B787.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that the Road Development Authority, the contract for the construction of grade separated junctions at Pontfair, Jambu, Daulat roundabouts, and the M1 Link Road was awarded to a joint venture, Transinvest, Gencon, Bouygues, VSLI, Junction, Pontfair, and A1M1 Link Road joint venture on the 23rd of February 2018. Work started on the site on the 6th of April 2018. Madam Speaker, I am further informed that the Korea Expressway Corporation had done the design based on all investigations done prior to tender. After the award of the contract, Further investigations were done under the supervision of KEC by the contractor as per its obligations by the contract. The detailed investigations revealed the presence of a weak soil strata underneath the proposed bridge foundation and possible failure lines on the two cliffs of the Grand River Northwest Valley. Consequently, the initial tender foundation had to be changed from spread footings to board piles. Additionally, to minimize the risk to the bridge due to the potential cliff instability, the piers of the bridge were also shifted 20 meters further away from the cliffs, that is inside the valley. Madam Speaker, the bridge, the modified bridge, is now of a total length of 330 meters and with three spans of 100, 130 and 130 meters. This is necessary to mitigate the weak soil conditions and possible cliff instability which could have affected the long-term performance of the bridge. Therefore, the decision was taken in consultation with all experts, ARQ, Professor Mayon, Dr. Kim, KEC, and the contractor, to do three things. To shift the central piers, which is 90 meters high in the valley. Second, to change the foundation to piles. Each pile will rest on 50 piles with a cap of 25 meters by 40, that is the base. Reinforce the abutments in view of the risk of cliff instability. These additional works, which were approved by the CPB and by Cabinet, will cost around 155 million, but will certainly improve the resilience of the bridge. I'm further informed that the A1-M1 Nick Road consists of three components: the Shebel Viaduct, the Sorez interchange, and the bridge itself. Madam Speaker, works at the Shebel Viaduct and road have already started. Retaining works are ongoing, piling works are completed, reinforcement of pile cap ongoing, and displacement of utilities are in progress. The work at Sorez interchange also is ongoing. Site clearance, construction of embankment are in progress. Construction of box culvert is ongoing. Displacement of utilities is in progress. As regards to the bridge itself, the final detailed design is being done by the contractor and KEC. Site clearance and site establishments have been completed. Excavation works for abutment at Shebel are in progress. Mobilization in Grand River Northwest Valley has been completed, and the piling works for the base will start mid-September. So I had also some news. The bridge is to weigh 24,000 tons, Madam Speaker. Each pillar is to weigh 9,000 tons, and the bases, the two bases, are to weigh 6,900 tons.
Madam Speaker, according to the tender document, whether it's in clause 4.11 or subclause 4.10, it's clearly written that it is the contractor that has to do the due diligence on the quality of the soil before submitting a bid. Now, why is it that after the contract has been awarded, the contractor comes back and tells you that the soil condition is not good and wants for a variation? So does the Honourable Minister find it acceptable that after a contract has been awarded, that the contractor now is asking for a variation of 155 million rupees on the basis of the soil?
Let me explain, Madam Speaker. Some investigations were done before the tender for the basic design which was tendered, and the basic design was done by Korea Expressway Corporation. One of the obligations of the contractor is to do the thorough investigation of the whole area, which they did, because I really wanted them to do so. It took us 3 months to do that, to understand the valley. When we understood the valley, we found out that if we were to put the piles at 25 meters, there was a soft layer below the 25 meters. One. Second, we found out that the cliff on both sides were fragile because rocks could fall and the abutments were not very strong enough to lay the table of the bridge. So we had two things to do: whether we continue with the design or we have an option. And I think for security, we decided to have this option so that we go deeper, and then we go also we stabilize the cliffs, and we stabilize also the abutment for the table to be placed on it. So we had to we decided this is a variation which is of 3%, because the breach is about 2.something billion. And we went to the CPB, we went to cabinet, because the soil condition in the end, the final investigation, led to the fact that we could stay with the original design, but it was very clear that the best thing for the bridge would be to go deeper and to consolidate the cliffs.
It should have been done before the tender too. Doesn't the Honourable Minister agree that once it was discovered that the soil had such problem, that he should have done a new tender, because he's unfairly penalizing all the bidders who probably had realized the soil was not appropriate and had factored that in their initial tender? So doesn't he agree that we ought to have done a new tender exercise?
Madam Speaker, just to do the first investigation, to prepare the tender documents, it could take us 1 year. To do the whole exercise, when we don't do the tender, we see that we have to go by the procurement. We respected the procurement. We went to the CPB to ask whether this could be done. The CPB considered the matter, considered the variation, also explained that there was the additional works which had to be done, and gave us the approval that we could go ahead, and I went to cabinet for the approval of government.
Yes,
There's a case of Terre Rouge Verdun, there's a case of Descamps, and now for A1 M1, we see the same contractor, Colas Transinvest. So shouldn't the Honourable Minister refer the matter to the Public Procurement Office to take whatever sanction needs to be taken against this contractor?
Madam Speaker, for Terre Rouge Verdun, well, that was what it was. As regards to this one, not many companies in the world could provide for the procurement. The only way to provide for to do the bidding for such a bridge is that you should have constructed at least 2 other bridges somewhere else of that span. So in fact, it was a consortium of Transinvest, General Construction, Bouygues from France, VSLI, and all these people came together, Sistra, to be able to make the bid.
B788.
Madam Speaker, my ministry received an anonymous letter making representations against a few staff members of the Rajiv Gandhi Science Centre regarding work-related problems, but not on abuse of power or corruption as such. An internal audit was carried out and certain weaknesses were noted in the administrative and procurement sections, which were mainly as a result of the shortage of staff. Officers were often called upon to carry out multiple tasks for administrative convenience and smooth conduct of operations. However, it was noted that there were no proper segregation of duties in the administrative and procurement sections. Recommendations were made for the recruitment of additional staff to remedy the situation. Actions were taken accordingly. I'm informed that 13 key posts have been filled after a recruitment exercise. Furthermore, arrangement has been made for an assistant manager, financial operations from the Minister of Education to provide support and guidance to the Rajiv Gandhi Science Centre on HR matters. Guidelines and basic financial principles have also been forwarded to the Centre for proper financial procedures to be followed. The problems identified, Madam Speaker, were mostly on operational management due to interpersonal conflicts, and now that the recruitment of staff has already been effected, these issues, I'm informed, have already been addressed. The situation is being monitored.
Speaker, the Honourable Minister just mentioned an internal report. So would the Honourable Minister be prepared to table a copy of that internal report?
I have no problem doing so, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister mentioned administrative issues. Is she aware that for almost 10 years, a confidential secretary has been doing the job of an administrative officer? So for 10 years, they did not advertise, and that administrative officer, contrary to the PRB report, was given a full salary instead of a partial allowance as recommended by PRB report?
Madam Speaker, I've been informed by the Rajiv Gandhi Science Centre that officers were asked to do several tasks, and very often they had to do overtime due to a shortage of staff. And when this was noted through the internal audit, actions were taken for the filling of posts, and that person has been required to do the job for which she was appointed.
Has the attention of the Honourable Minister also been drawn to the fact that solar glass sunglasses, which were supposed to be sold at 25 rupees, on the day of the eclipse were actually sold for 50 rupees? And the difference were never accounted for. So all the school children who went to Rajiv Gandhi Centre to watch the eclipse had to pay twice the amount which the board had budgeted for. And this is one of the complaints made to ICAC.
Madam Speaker, I was not aware of that particular point, but I'm going to look into it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have heard the Honourable Minister blaming communication. Why there is a difference between the ranking and what actually happened. But wouldn't the Minister agree that Global Innovation Index, one of the main criteria, and it's in the report, and if you look at Mauritius, is the number of patents registered in Mauritius, and where under this heading it is called below expectation for level of development. So would the Honourable Minister agree that as far as patent is concerned, we are not filing sufficient patent to upgrade ourselves in the ranking?
Madam Speaker, as I mentioned again, my colleague, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, 2 weeks back came with the new Industrial Property Bill Act for the registration of patent. That means now the patent is owned by the person who is inventing. Long ago, it was held by the council, so there was a problem somewhere. Now, with the new IP law, which will be proclaimed soon, so this is going to address this issue. Definitely, the ranking will improve.